Hey guys, welcome to part 3. So what we're going to be discussing in this part is how to start with back up the work that's been done so far, so that doesn't become corrupted with any future changes, and also to start some modelling. So what we're going to try and do is basically get the face to a stage where it matches the front photograph as best as we can make it. This is going to be done using a combination of very large and very small polygon transformations, scales, rotations. So first off though, I'm going to show you how to back up. So basically what you need to do is go to your GDB and just copy and paste the folder of the player that you're working on. This is now your backup copy. So it means basically if you make any mistakes with this, which is going to be what we're going to be working on in a sec, then you can literally delete that folder, delete copy and the hyphen, and you'll be back to where you started, which is really handy. You can see here, this is the last player that I did, and he's got several copies, because I do that just periodically while I create these models, just to make sure that I've got something to go back to in case something corrupts. So having said that, let's get Blender set up. So first of all, we need to import our face, and we need to import the hair, and we need to import the XML. So the next thing to do is to disable hair 0, because we're not going to be using that again, probably until the very end. Go to the front view. I'm just going to enable the screencast, just so you guys can see which buttons I'm pressing. They'll appear down here. So the next thing to do will be to enable the background image. So we want to have our image in this folder here, the background, and the sizes for those were 0.9 that way and 0.25 on the y-axis, and that's going to give us a rough line up to the 3D model. The next thing to do is to join two halves together, so shift click the other part and Control and J together to join. What we also want to do actually is make sure that this background image isn't going to appear in any other viewports again, so we'll just set it to the front, so when we move to the side it's no longer there. And we'll also set that to go in front of the 3D model, so we can see Marshall's features as more of a priority. So, brush basics. If we go into edit mode now, you can see that it's all one object. First things first, to say enable the limit selection to visible. That makes it a lot cleaner to look at, and it will just help with this stage of the modelling. I'm just going to make this window bigger, as we don't need to play around with texture at this stage. So we'll also enable proportional editing, of course, and basically what we're trying to do is match up edges and the flow of the lines through the face. It's fairly logical stuff, but if you work with a large brush to start with, it becomes very easy. If you were to do it with a much smaller brush, you'd end up doing this all the way around, and it's just silly. There's no need. So work with a very large brush and just drop it in. It's as easy as that. To get the ears, we can use the so if you disable that the limit selection of visible, press C, you'll get a little circle around your mouse pointer, and what this does is it selects within the circle, so you can just select an ear and then press escape to get out of that, and then we can move the ear in, we can press R to start rotating the ear. His face is very straight on the sides, so we're going to try and replicate that. And we can press S to scale the ear up a little. And it's not perfect, but we haven't done any vertex transformations on it yet at all. These have all been, kind of group polygon transformations instead. So I'll just make the final adjustments on that ear. Just to get it looking exactly right. I'm not one of these people that spends an awful lot of time on ears, to be honest. I don't see that as a major priority in terms of getting someone to look like they do. If you're really keen on doing that, then more power to you. I'm not all that fussed about doing it, so I don't bother. Obviously, once you've moved the ear, you might have some other things in the wrong place, so just go back in and fix them up. Pretty easy stuff, really. So that ear looks about right, and we'll go and work on the other one now. So again, if you press A, that will clear any previous selection. Press C, and then just select your ear. Press Escape to get out of that tool. Enlarge your radius of the proportional editing thing, and then bring the ear in. Maybe rotate it ever so slightly. Bring it in a little more. And that's probably about right. So we will just operate on a more local level now. Just move those out, move that in. And that's probably about right for now. It's close enough. So the next thing to do will be to work on the chin. And once we've got this element done, we'll start to work on some of the more detail features, nose, eyes, mouth. But I'll take a short break after I've done this because I need to chop up the videos. So if I just select the chin area like that, make it approximately symmetrical, doesn't need to be exact. A bit of chaos is always good. And increase your selection so it's nice and large, because you want to be dragging down certain other elements. Anyway, you can see the nose. Just make sure you don't grab the ears because you've already fixed them. And then pull it down to approximately the right place. Now we're ignoring these polygons because this is actually where the chin is. And so we'll just drop that approximately over the chin area there. So it looks a bit weird at the moment, but it's much closer in terms of the general facial proportions than it was before. So, next thing to do is the mouth, the nose and the eyes. So before I get started on that, I'm just going to take a very quick break and I'll be back in a sec. Right, so next is the mouth. So the simplest way to deal with the mouth is again to use relatively large selection brushes. Try not to affect the nose too much because it's not a million miles away from where it needs to be. It's not massively far out. So let's just start playing around to get the central point correct. So that's probably where you should start. It's all about trying to get the size of the fall off correct. If you can get that right, actually it does pretty much all the work for you, to be honest. You know, like there we can basically generate that smirk, side smirk, just as simple as that. It's really no effort. You just got to make sure that you get it to be the right size, and it's easy. When you've got things that are a bit close, just make it a lot smaller. Let's just make the actual image a little bit more opaque. Let's get that smirk in there. A lot smaller. And start lining this stuff up. The edge of the lips. section needs to be moved over, because as you can see he's actually got a not a very symmetrical mouth, so I actually need to move that over, move that up. And what we're trying to do is basically get these points here to line up with the edge of the sort of pink part of his lips. So let's just try and align this bit a little better. So I'll grab that, and again there's a little bit of a smirk on this side as well, so I just line that up. It's good to pull from outside of the lip area rather than inside. Sometimes you actually want to operate on a kind of, you grab these, but you don't want to necessarily grab them completely. So you just do that, and you get a nice little fall off straight into the lip section there. So you need to make that a lot smaller, and just pull the lip up like that. And that's probably pretty close. Let's make some of these a little smaller. And as well, what I'll do is close up some of these very, very large areas, just so it's a bit smoother. I mean, a lot of this is just comes through experience and just, sort of learn by doing, really. So just keep fiddling with it until it looks about right. That's not too bad. Just move that out a touch. It's a seriously weird mouth model. So just grab this lot and get get his lips in the right place. It doesn't take long just to block it in. I mean, what you're trying to do here is get to the stage where all of the features are in roughly the right area, and then what you'll probably do is go back in and just do a second round of changes to kind of fix what you missed in the first round. Because you might find that although you think that's perfect, by the time you finished you might go back to it and go, oh, actually that's certainly not in the right place anymore. So don't make any changes that you're going to regret, and keep it simple. That's pretty good in terms of the mouth. I'm pretty pleased with that. That will do for now. So next is the nose, so we'll quickly manipulate that into shape. So first off, nice large one. Avoid messing with the mouth too much, so make sure the circle's just not affecting the mouth. First off, we'll centralise to the photo data like that. We'll make sure that the nose is wide enough using a nice large brush, and there it is. The edge of the nose from here comes to about there. It's down a bit further, like that, and so on the other side we'll do the same. So that is more or less aligned there. We'll also make the nose a little wider, because it's fairly clear that his nose is wider. So we'll do that, like that. And then what we need to do is work on the nostrils. And the nostrils are, you might think they're very fine detail work, and they are, but it's no stress at the moment just to work on them a little bit. And it's worth doing. So we'll just grab the edge of the nostril, move that down, get it roughly into position. Here we need to tuck this under a little bit, and the same up here, just tuck it under, just so you're following the shapes. And we'll move this nostril down, and here as well. pretty good. So I need to move this area in a little, like that. Probably the same on the other side. It needs to be moved down a touch as well. And just move that up a little. So that's a nostril on that side, nostril on the other side, just move them down like that. And possibly try and grab one of these elements under here which you can't see and just move it down a little like that. So that's a more Marshall nose shape. I'm going to take another very quick break and then I am going to work on the eyes, which are, as I said, probably about the most complicated part of the whole process. Right then guys, this last section on rough modelling, we're going to be working on the eyes. So the first thing to do is to approximately position the eyes in the correct locations. So if you press C, but don't do the back face, don't sort of deselect that, just select the eyes roughly like that, and then what you can do is press escape to deselect that, and then you basically have full control over where this is going to go. You can also enlarge the sphere of influence as well. Looks like we still have a point selected over there, so undo any of those changes and deselect that point, shift and right click. So first of all we should probably scale this up a little, and then probably rotate it a little. So let's try and move him a little bit more into where he needs to go. Like that, so we can probably scale him again. Probably a little too much, but we don't want to rotate him that way, we want to rotate him that way. So that'll probably do. So let's try and scale him that way a little bit as well. So that's close. I don't think that's too bad at all. So the next thing to do will be to get this upper crease in the right location. So on the photo you can see he's got this crease, which is where his eyelid disappears under where his skull comes. So if we flick back to the Neymar model, obviously that's a lot lower, we need to make sure that's in a very similar location. So the way to do that is to use a relatively small brush and just move it up. You might need to rotate the view just to grab points that are sat behind eyelashes. And this is actually the easier way to do it. The other way to do it is obviously to align all these with the top of the eye and then work this way, but actually if you do it this way it means all you need to do is move these into the right place. Too far, but that needs to come in that curve. So now that is in approximately the right location, we can now go back in and actually move these lower portions back into the correct positions. If we'd done it the other way round, then obviously we'd probably have to come back and do this stage again anyway, so at least this way we're only doing it the once, which makes sense to me. So just quickly align all these up with the edge. As I say, you can spend a lot longer on this than I am. Most of this is just for demonstration purposes, so you guys get a feel for what's actually involved in creating a face. So that's an eye. I think that's pretty close. The important thing to mention about eyes is this line should ideally run through the middle of the eye. I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel that it has an influence on how the eye blinks in the game. And if it's not central to this area, then it becomes a problem. If you've got things like that, then your blink is going to look very, very weird. Sometimes it won't join up. So try and keep that as square as possible. You can see how it's rounded to the surface of the eye. It's actually just a temporary thing. It's not visible in game. The eye is actually a separate model, but I think it's used for basically constraining it when it blinks and things like that. So next we'll do the other eye. So press A to deselect any points that we might have selected already, and select as much as we can on the surface of the eye, like that. And we'll press escape to get out of that. Move the eye across. Let's get a little bit of feedback going on that. And so that needs to sit about there. And the centre is there, so scale that up to about there. Scale again, but do it around the other axis. And you do that by pressing the middle mouse button and then left mouse button to confirm, and then rotate just by pressing R into the right direction. So that's pretty good. That looks alright. Let's just make that smaller, make sure that's lined up properly, and then do some sort of detail work there. So we also need to obviously get the crease in the right position on this side as well. So I will just move this lot up. So I just move these until we're satisfied that it's in the appropriate location. Don't want that associated with that at all. So move those up, retain the crease, because it's an important piece of geometry. So that's me, seems about right. If we look at that, it's much better than it was. Probably not perfect. But again, I'm not aiming for perfection with this model, just aiming to show you guys the techniques that I use. So that's eyes. One other thing that's actually worth checking with eyes is this central vertex. So there's a vertex that hides in here. That's actually in about the right place, but it wants to be somewhere sort of central to the eye. If it's way, way out, then just move it down like that. So, as you can see, it's not looking like Neymar anymore. It's looking a little bit more natural. Less like he's smiling like a demon or something, and more like a normal face, but just not a face we recognise because he's not got the right texture on him yet. So I think the next thing to do actually is to work on the eyebrow area, because those are actually quite different. So, and then I'll probably do some work on the cheeks, and then we can get texturing. So I'll just stop this here and then maybe do another part in a little while. Welcome back. So the last thing to do in this stage is to get the eyebrows sorted out. So just rejoin that section. So as you can see at the moment, the eyebrows are too low on Neymar. We need to push the brow up a little and out a little to get it to work right. So, how do we do that? is the same way that we've done everything else. So go into edit mode, make sure you've got your backtrace culling on, and enable proportional editing. So we need to make that a little smaller so we don't affect the eyes that we've already edited too much. Sometimes it can help to select multiple sections of vertexes. Just, really what you're selecting here is the area of and surrounding the eyebrows, Neymar. So we can then move them to fit the area here. I've got probably a slightly bigger brush just to pull this element out a little so you can see the curve of the polygons here, and just try and match those up. So that's probably about right. So that should put the eyebrow, when it's textured, actually on the correct area. And that should work well. So let's just do the other side. So again, lower the opacity, basically select Neymar's eyebrow. And move the eyebrow up. Again, try not to drag any of the other geometry with. I'll sort of take that a little. Move it more into position, rotate it back a touch. So this will have obviously made some serious errors in terms of the geometry, but those are relatively easy to fix. Just select your areas and then just try and make it smooth again. Another thing that we can do here actually is to move some of these points up a little. We don't want the texture to be too stretched in this area, so and probably we don't want the brows quite so harsh in terms of the angle that it comes in at. So that's probably better than that. So it's just making it a little smoother like that. So it's got a couple of points here that we need to fix. Smooth that up a bit as well. And down here. Again, just trying to get that smooth curve back. You may need to look at it from a few angles just to judge whether you've got it right or not. Like that. So possibly move that in a little, just to retain a bit more of that curve. And that doesn't look too far off. So as you can see now, the eyebrows are a lot better matched. Because there's an obvious raising of the eyebrow here, what I may actually do is move some of these points up with a larger brush, just so we get less texture stretching. It will probably just mean that the model's actually more accurate as well. Proportions in the face are usually relative, so it's probably a good idea to try and make those areas as equidistant as possible. So that's looking pretty good. Pretty pleased with that. So I think, other than perhaps moving around some of these points on the cheek, his cheeks aren't quite as sunken as Neymar's. what we may also need to do, but that will come more in profile work, is actually make sure that his cheeks are pushed out. But again, we'll find that out from the profile view, which is going to be the next stage and actually the next part. This is where this part ends. So I'll see you next time for working on the profile.